Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn at Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Channeling, Eclipse Ascension reading / Sacred Union Energy update. It's a little bit of everything. This is a special reading because I want to do a reading for the masculine and the feminine, but I also want to talk about this eclipse energy because this eclipse energy is massive. If you haven't already checked out Cosmic Alignment reading or the Twin Flame Turning Point reading, we talk about how the Venus retrograde is affecting us. We have Mercury retrograde going on right now at the same time. We're in the middle of eclipse season. March energy has been huge. For myself, I got through the first eclipse like with ease. It was so easy. I was like, oh, this eclipse season is going to treat me really well. This second eclipse that we're experiencing this weekend is a doozy. It is already it's really like a trial by fire is what I keep getting, this trial by fire kind of energy. And we're going to talk about the eclipse season and what it means. Speaking of eclipse season and retrogrades and cosmic events, I just recorded the Sacred Shifts workshop. This had to be rescheduled from the live event, so I just recorded it. It's going to be available in the Ascension Connections portal through my website this weekend. I really encourage you guys to check it out. It was phenomenal. It helps you understand and master these sacred shifts, and that's what I call these timeline shifts, these cosmic support events like retrogrades and eclipses and portal days and the Lion's Gate, solstices and equinoxes and full moons and new moons. These are all choice points, and what these cosmic events do is they amplify the energy to help us make much more conscious choice points. You're always walking through portals and walking through gateways, energetic gateways, by your conscious choices. You're always shifting timelines with every thought, every pattern you break or new pattern that you have. Every action, every choice that you make is opening up a new timeline. And these cosmic events amplify the energy so that we can make more conscious choices to get into alignment with our soul. And what happens with the eclipses specifically is they open up 6-month gateways, 6-month doorways. So you're clearing out the old and you're bringing in the new, and at the same time, because energy shifts simultaneously. You might look in your physical senses like it's on a lag, like where is it? Where's my manifestations? Where's my creation? But everything is happening simultaneously. In the workshop, I gave the analogy of moving furniture out of your house. You can't move the new furniture in unless you're first moving the old furniture out. And sometimes it will feel like we're in the middle of a transition. So what happens is you'll look around your empty room in your house and you'll be like, where is it? Where's the new furniture? In that place, that's where we are now between eclipses, is your place of creation. What's coming up for you? You might feel a sense of pressure. You might feel a sense of intensity. You might feel some overwhelm. You might feel heightened emotions. You might feel triggered. But that is all guiding you towards your inner self. It's all guiding you to show you what you need to look at for releasing or for creation. What is the new you that wants to emerge? And where are you still in resistance to that? Where are you not trusting the unfolding of the new? Where are you not allowing yourself to become? So that's what eclipses really bring up for us. They bring up the new, but first we have to release the old. They also gave me the analogy in the workshop, and like I said, it was a big workshop. I really recommend it. Standing in the doorway, in the actual threshold of your home, where the old is wanting to come out. Maybe you're carrying an old sofa or an old chair and the new is wanting to come in. Well, you can't bring the new in unless you literally move from that doorway of the old. You have to release that old couch or that old chair so the new one can come in, but you can't be in the doorway at the same time. And so that's where you might see a little bit of a lag. Eclipses are 6-month cycles. And so what you're releasing, what you're bringing in now is what you released 6 months ago. What you're releasing now is what's going to create the new over these next couple of months, over these next 6 months. So this is a really amplified time to be really consciously aware of yourself, really consciously aware of your patterns, your behaviors, your actions, your choices, and again, making conscious choices to shift. It is all about a shift. The only way that you create new timelines and collapse old ones is by consciously changing the patterns and shifting in a much more aware and conscious way. Okay. What I loved about this workshop is we really talked about the masculine and the feminine energy. We did dive into a little bit of how it's affecting sacred partners, twin flames, whatever label you want to assign to it. Because what the solar and lunar eclipse is, they always happen in pairs, sometimes in threes, like sometimes there'll be a third eclipse tacked on, but they'll always happen in pairs. So there will be a solar eclipse and then there'll be a lunar eclipse. And the solar eclipse is all about initiation and the lunar eclipse is all about release. The solar eclipse is the masculine energy, the lunar eclipse is the feminine energy. Now, you can apply that to your inner masculine and inner feminine. What did this past couple of weeks solar eclipse energy bring to you? The reason why I had to reschedule the Sacred Shifts workshop was because I was going through my own massive initiation. It's going to be a masterclass that I'm going to be producing over the next couple of weeks and maybe even months, depends on how in depth it goes. But what it did is it brought my journey full circle from where I was in my initial awakening in 2008 to now, and my trip to France and England 2 years ago to now. It all brought it full circle to all of our teachings, all of my understanding, all of my own spiritual journey. This mind blowing, what really felt like initiation. I remember saying to a soul sister that it felt like an initiation. And so bringing everything full circle into this understanding of myself, my journey, and what the Christ consciousness is. And sacred partners playing a huge part in that, and why I was called to doing these teachings and to this journey, and the role that I play as a guide. So, all bringing it full circle, I will be doing a masterclass on that as soon as I get my head around it. I have to integrate and embody it first in order so that I can share it. But again, solar eclipse energy, initiation. That was right on the tail end of that eclipse energy. But I didn't realize it at the time, not until today as I was channeling the Sacred Shifts workshop. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was the initiation. Now, what's being released? Well, a lot is being released. I felt like I got through the first part of eclipse season very peacefully. I'm like, oh, this is easy. Oh, I'm having major activations and initiations, and okay, cool. Like, I'm pretty centered. I'm pretty balanced. Well, I got humbled really quick because it has been a doozy the past couple of days for myself, where it has felt intense. It's felt overwhelming. I've been battling some stuff, challenging some challenges in my life with people who are going through stuff, and myself trying to hold space and be there for them and care for them. There is a soul path reading that I want to do called The Heaviness of Caring, for those of you who are caretakers for others or who anticipate being caretakers for others, for example, aging parents or parents who are going through certain things. So stay tuned for that. For my animals, my fur babies are going through stuff. So it's been a huge initiation, again, like a trial by fire for me to embody everything that I was experiencing. And in order to embody that, I have to release the old. And yesterday I was really going through it and feeling just kind of helpless. And so I was laying in bed in the middle of the night. I had my cat at my foot of my bed and my dog who sleeps on my head, basically, at the head of my bed. And luckily I'm short, so it's fine. So I was trying to bring some love and healing energy to all of us. And I was listening to these higher hertz frequencies, like the 528 hertz frequency. Speaking of, that's my dog. So I was listening to these frequencies, and it was breaking me open, making me expand. And I was just sobbing. And I was feeling so much love and overwhelmed. And I was crying, and I'm like sobbing. And I'm like, love my baby so much, and my family so much, and my counterpart so much, and life so much, and my friends so much, and my work so much. And like I was just feeling the full force of everything, you know how in the beginning of our journey when we start to feel that heart expansion and it's just like a flood of euphoria and love and we don't know what to do with it. It was like that. I felt much more grounded though. It felt it wasn't quite as intense as in those early days. It felt much more grounded, but I was still like sobbing and breaking open and expanding more and just feeling this love. But there was also a sense of grief underneath that. And I was having this conversation, this communion with God, and I was saying, where does it go? Where do I put it? I have so much love inside of me. I want to share it. Where does it go? Especially when it feels like it's being rejected, or it feels like it's being denied, or it feels like nobody wants it. Where does it go? And God just responded by reminding me that we don't have to control where that love goes. We just are meant to express it in our fullest capacity with our open heart and allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable. And that's also something that I was working on over the past couple of days, allowing myself to be vulnerable in a state that I've never been before. This is not vulnerable in expression. This was vulnerable in the uncertainty, being vulnerable in the sense of not knowing what's to come, being vulnerable in the unknown, and being vulnerable in the stillness. And so I'm having this communion with God, and He's saying, remember, love is never wasted. Love is never wasted. You're meant to be love. You're meant to express love. And I felt a healing energy in that moment because I've been feeling disconnected. I have been feeling very overwhelmed. I've been feeling very anticipating of something new coming in, but not quite grounded there yet, not quite embodied there yet. Like I had gone through this initiation, another initiation, because we're constantly going through initiations. We're constantly becoming. We're constantly unfolding. We're constantly coming home to ourselves in inner spirals, inner cycles, inner layers. And this was just another heart opening, another expansion. And so God just kept reminding me, just express that love. Don't be afraid of expressing that love, because that love will go where it's meant to go. You might not be able to see how far the ripples go, but you're just meant to be the catalyst. You're meant to be the activator. And so that's a message for all of us, that we are meant to be the catalyst. We might not see how far those ripples extend with all of our work here. We might not get to see how far patience goes, or compassion goes, or kindness goes, or love goes. But we're meant to be the vessel of that patience, of that compassion, of that kindness, of that love. We're meant to be the vessel. And so this eclipse energy was really interesting because it was like I was getting initiated, and then because I was getting initiated, it was like that energy was being held, and first I had to release it in order to embody it. I haven't quite embodied it yet because I still had to release anything of the old me, old beliefs, old patterns, old levels of consciousness, old frequencies, anything that's no longer aligned to the new that's coming in. And that is what eclipses are all about. So take a moment and ask yourself what feels like it's ending and what feels like it's beginning. And this also aligns with sacred partners, because there could be old versions of yourself or of your connection, of communication, of the way you interact, of the way you relate to each other that is ending and closing so that a new can come in. This could also be a new partner, new specific person, a new version of that old specific person. Don't let that trip you up. Be open to all potentials, be open to all possibilities, because when you're open and when you're in that expanded state, everything becomes possible. You're not limiting yourself, you're not contracting yourself, you're in that expanded state. So ask yourself what feels like it's ending, and are you actually allowing it to end? Or are you creating more resistance for yourself, which actually creates more suffering? Or are you in that place of surrender? Surrender does not mean giving up. Surrender means allowing it to be, letting it unfold, letting yourself become. They gave me the analogy again. Throughout the whole workshop, it was the metaphor of the house, which we've used in our teachings time and time again. I go over it in my book, The Unity Code, too. It's just such a perfect metaphor. But this time they said, what if you just sat in that empty room? Because sitting in that empty room is your point of creation. It's a blank slate. You allow yourself to become not just who you were, or holding on to who you were, or who you think you want to be, but you allow yourself to become all that you are. In that empty room is that state of creation, is that state of expansion. Because then you get to decide, okay, what paint do I want? What artwork do I want? What mementos and knickknacks do I want? What furniture do I want now? What aligns with this new me? And what people do I want to invite in? Who do I want to welcome into this room in my home, this room in my heart? What is aligned with me now? That old version of yourself. You invited in and welcomed in a reality, a physical experience that was aligned to you then, maybe from your old beliefs. Whether it was a positive experience or a negative experience, it was based on an energy that you were holding, a belief that you were holding, an identity that you might have had about yourself. Now, you're much more conscious, so you're much more consciously creating. And so in that level of creation, what energy are you holding? That old energy, you don't know what you don't know. So please don't judge yourself. Please hold compassion for that past version of yourself, and even for that past version of others who were part of that experience. For myself, one of the greatest struggles was to forgive my doctors. I When I was first diagnosed with Lyme disease, it had been after 15 years of undiagnosed illness, and I was rapidly declining. My mind was going, I was having neurological issues, my heart was failing, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, it was bad. And despite going to some of the top teaching hospitals in the country and seeing some of the top doctors, they kept saying that I was fine, when I knew that I wasn't. And that was a huge lesson for me, for trusting my intuition and being attuned to my own body. Huge lesson for me. And that's something that I've carried with me my whole life now, from that point forward, to always trust myself, my inner knowing, my soul's truth, and even to be attuned to my body and what I know my body is saying to me. And so these doctors, because they were basing it off of what they had been taught and what they knew, they weren't seeing beyond. They weren't seeing me, in essence. They weren't seeing what I was sharing with them, which was like a list of 40 symptoms. They weren't seeing beyond what they had been taught. And so I ended up, in essence, saving my life by digging deeper and doing research and reaching out to people who knew private practice and stuff like that to find the doctor that would physically save my life. And for so long, it was very hard for me to look at doctors the same, to look at doctors with any sense of respect. And it took a lot for me to forgive that ignorance. And that's what it was. It was ignorance and arrogance in some respects too. But I had to forgive them. They didn't know what they didn't know. I ended up teaching so many doctors in private practice, in my general practitioner. I taught them about Lyme disease. I taught them about the proper tests to run. I taught them about the symptoms that could present. I taught them. It was my own experiences that gave way to advocacy, that gave way to helping others be aware, so that they could then have that ripple effect. And again, you never know how far the ripples extend. You can only do what you're meant to do, what you're called to do. And so going back to that, it took a lot for me to forgive people who were part of that experience, and even people who, people who I considered friends, who weren't there for me, or who denied that I was sick, even though I was passing out, even though my heart was failing. It took a lot for them, but I knew my own reality. I knew what I was experiencing. I knew myself, and that's what I had to trust. But it took a lot to forgive them, but they were just playing the role that they were playing. They were playing the role and mirroring to me my own doubt, my own uncertainty. They were mirroring to me my own lack of awareness. And so now, at this point in my journey, I can have forgiveness for the role that they played in their own unconsciousness. So you don't know what you don't know, and that's having compassion for yourself and having compassion for others, a past version of yourself and that past version of others, not holding yourself or others to that fixed version. That's what the eclipse season really brings up. It brings up the old and asks you, are you ready to shift? And this is not just about shifting into, oh, I want a bigger house, or I want more money, or I want a better relationship. This is literally shifting you to your core. Can you shift yourself to your core? And when you're tuned into your soul, when you're trusting your soul, when you're trusting the unfolding, the answer is a resounding yes. You are ready for it. It's just your ego that replays patterns, that gets stuck in consciousness loops, that gets stuck in fear, that gets stuck in holding yourself back. Maybe because you're afraid to be vulnerable. Maybe because you're afraid of the unknown. Maybe because you're afraid to take a leap of faith. That's what holds you back. So there's a lot of play here with these eclipse season, these eclipses, this eclipse event. There's a lot of play because it is, number one, you're being put through an initiation. You're being put through trial by fire. You're being put through this kind of pressure cooker, but it's because you're being birthed. Like, you're literally going through the birth canal into this expanded world, into a new world, and that new world is you. That new world is you, quite literally you. You create your new world. This does not come from anything outside of yourself. You create your new world. And the more of us who are aligned to a world that is full of compassion and kindness and love and patience and all those higher frequencies, guess what? The more our collective reality changes. It shapes to reflect that. It's all us. It's all our creative abilities. And that's what we're aligning to. And that's what this eclipse season is reminding us of. It's reminding us of the initiation and the release, the activation and the surrender. And that is the masculine and the feminine energy in a nutshell. And look at it from your inner masculine and feminine energy. What is it showing you about yourself and your own inner union, and how you're holding that energy and that space for yourself? Part of expansion is having the capacity to hold multiple truths, multiple realities at once. For example, that old version of yourself. That's one reality. You can hold that reality as having been true. That doesn't have to be true anymore. You can know something to be true in your entire being and you're not seeing it in your physical reality yet. But those two truths can be true. It's just not showing up yet. Doesn't mean that you deny your inner reality. Doesn't mean that you deny your intuition. It doesn't mean that you deny your heart. Just means, okay, I can hold space for that reality that is still forming, that is still being created. I can still sit in the living room of the unknown, that blank space, the bare walls and the bare floors and no furniture. I can still sit here in the stillness and be centered within myself, be balanced within myself, be neutral. I don't have to attach a story to it. I don't have to say, why is this space empty? Why is my new furniture not coming yet? Or I'm attached to my old furniture, I miss it, let me get it back. I can sit in the stillness and know that I'm becoming. This eclipse energy, any cosmic support energy is all about becoming, because you are about becoming. So I want to do a channeling, a reading. I got the new, couple weeks ago, I got the new Queen of the Sun Oracle, and I thought, how perfect. I wanted to do this a couple weeks ago, but again, with the first eclipse, but again, I was going through my own thing, so I haven't done anything. I've also been in the middle of creating a new program. The membership that I created last year, I realized a couple months ago, didn't fully align with me, and I sat with myself to wonder why. And I realized that last year I had really been working on my inner masculine, safety, stability, inner security, feeling that expansive container, that container expanding, my capacity expanding. So I was really working within the masculine, and so I created that within the masculine. And now I'm so happy to announce that we're creating a new program with more of a feminine energy. Masculine or feminine, you're all welcome into it, but it has more of that vessel of love energy. It has more of a container in which both can be held. And I'm so excited to create in there. I am so excited to align with you in there, and we have a lot more features that are showing up in there as well, including the Sacred Shifts workshop. So make sure you stay tuned for the full announcement coming up on Friday. So I was in that energy of creation, in that energy of building, in my masculine energy, and now I'm in the energy again of creating and channeling, and it feels very exciting, I gotta say. And doing the workshop helped me align back to that aspect within myself. So I got this deck. It feels perfect because now I'm like, oh, great. We have both the masculine and the feminine, because this is the sister deck to the Queen of the Moon Oracle. So we're going to pull a card for the masculine and the feminine using both of these decks. And we're going to do something interesting too. I'm going to pull Well, I'll do it as we go. I'm going to pull first for the masculine using the Queen of the Sun oracle. So the sun is the masculine energy. So let's pull a card for the masculine and see what's going on for them just in their current energies. We're not going to go deep into a Sacred Union update. We're not going to go deep into a full Sacred Union energy update or spread today. But I just want to see, what does the masculine need to know for this eclipse energy? For this eclipse energy. And again, take it for your counterpart, take it for your inner masculine, especially take it for your inner masculine too. Remember, your counterpart is a reflection of your inner masculine, so make sure that you are connecting with the energies or the messages there as well for yourself. Let's see. What is it that we need to know for the masculine? Anything else? No. Okay. We have the card mental health. So with this card, I do feel like the masculine, who is naturally connected to the higher mind, I feel like they're connecting to their higher level of awareness and higher awareness of self right now. This doesn't feel like mental health as far as like mental health crisis, although some could be having difficulty if they're in resistance. If you're in resistance, you could be having some difficulty with your mental health. This could be maybe feeling overwhelmed, feeling distracted, maybe feeling in a depressed state, that kind of thing. If you're in resistance to yourself or to change, to this growth or this expansion, to whatever it is that the eclipse season is showing you, your mental health could be impacted. And that's where you're being called to take a step back, center yourself, use your tools, use your resources, reach out, get guidance, get insight, get support in ways that you will take care of yourself, essentially, is what they're saying. Nurture yourself and make sure that you're caring for your mental health. But this feels more like they're connected to their higher mind. This feels more like they're connecting to their own sense of self-awareness. And when I say the higher mind, that's very different from the ego. The higher mind is the masculine energy. The higher mind is the logic, the reason, the practicality. The higher mind is the protector, the leader, the one who expresses themselves consistently, directly, communicates in healthy ways. That's all coming from the higher mind. So I feel like they are aware of themselves in a much different way, in a new way, in a much more nuanced way, is also what I'm hearing. So I feel like this energy is actually in alignment with what we have been channeling in the past few Sacred Union energy updates, where we talk about like birthing this new reality for the masculine, birthing this new sense of self. That's what this feels like with the higher mind, a new sense of self from that level of awareness. Where they might have been operating in unconscious patterns. This is shifting, expanding in their consciousness to be more aware of themselves, but from the soul level. That's what the higher mind is, aware of yourself, but from the soul level. And again, take it for your inner masculine and inner feminine. Divine feminines, this could be like your higher mind as well. You have both. Like divine feminines are usually more connected to their heart space, to their soul self. They're really the connected energy. And so what you've had to learn through your journey is how to get in tune with your higher mind or control your higher mind, which can get away from you, right? So you've learned how to be more mindful. That's you healing within your inner masculine energy. The masculine, on the other hand, learns how to open their heart, how to be vulnerable within the heart, how to expand within the heart space, how to tune into their intuition and use discernment between what is actually ego and what is actually soul intuition. And so here I feel like they are aligning the higher mind with the soul self. And again, I feel like this came through in a Sacred Union energy update recently, but we had channeled this a couple of months ago where I saw, months ago, maybe a year ago, where I saw like a line, like a pillar of light being activated between the higher mind and the higher heart. And this feels like it's coming online. This feels like it's aligned now. So it feels like it's activated, and it feels like it's being embodied now. So not just activated as in like coming online, but really being embodied and put it into practice. And that might be where some mental health stuff is coming in. That might mean putting new things into practice, doing things differently than you had done. But it's all about getting you into soul alignment versus operating from the unconscious, or operating from the ego, or operating from the old version. So that's the masculine energy. Let's see what's going on for the feminine using the Queen of the Moon deck now. What's going on for the feminine? What's going on for the feminine? I like how you have, I don't know if that's like a reindeer or what, but it reminds me of like a stag. And this reminds me of the Chariot. So this also feels like connecting with the higher mind, in alignment with the higher heart, in alignment with the intuition, with the soul, also feels like directing your destiny in a more conscious way. Like you're making much more conscious choices. And so you're where you, okay, how do I say this? When you're in an unconscious state, you think that outside environments or experiences or other people have control over you. And you recognize when you go through awakening and ascension, and these consciousness shifts, you recognize that you're not actually in control of other people. You're not in control of experiences. You're not in control of your outside environment. You have no control over that. And those things have no control over you. You're autonomous. That's where you're in your sovereignty. That's where you're in your authority. But to embody that, not just to understand that consciously, but to really embody that, that is where you level up in consciousness. You grow in consciousness. And part of that consciousness expansion is recognizing that you might not also be in control of other people or things or environments, but you are in control of yourself. You direct your destiny by your choices, your actions, your thoughts. You direct your destiny by how you conduct yourself, present yourself, how you, like, what you choose as patterns, what you choose to believe, what you choose to identify with, your choices. And again, these eclipse energies are choice points. That's all cosmic events are. They're doorways that are choice points, and you can walk through them anytime, but these cosmic events are amplifying that energy so that you can much more consciously make those choices to maybe have a new self-concept or new identity, which means like you're choosing a new version of yourself. I don't want to believe this about myself anymore. I don't want to believe I'm unlovable. I know that I'm lovable, so I'm going to believe that I'm lovable, and that's going to become my reality, that kind of thing, right? I'm not living in lack anymore. I don't believe in lack anymore. I believe in abundance. I'm naturally abundant, and so that's who I'm going to become. That's going to be my lived reality, that kind of thing. Your physical reality is a reflection of your beliefs that you hold, and the identity that you're embodying, what you identify with, the energy that you identify with. It's all energy. And so when you are holding a belief, that belief is an energy. It's an energy that you're identifying with. It's an energy that you're repeating. A belief is just a pattern that repeats over and over and over again until it cements itself as a belief. But beliefs are able to shift too by shifting the pattern. And the pattern only shifts by you making a different choice. Does that make sense? So I feel like this energy is also like very cherry energy of you being conscious of your choices, being conscious of yourself, so that you are connected to yourself. That's what it feels like, connected to yourself, so that you're now connected to who you are, who you want to become, the life you want to lead, the life you want to live. And essentially what they're bringing me back to is the living room. It's an empty living room. It's a blank slate. What do you want to decorate your life with, your soul with? What do you want to decorate the walls with? Who do you want in that living room? That's what it's about. It's about making those conscious choices. And the old has to be released so that you can invite in the new and be mindful of the new. And again, it could be the same people, but you're making a much more conscious choice for them to be there in that living room. Does that make sense? So that's what this energy is all about. Okay. Divine Feminine. We have assessing. I feel divine feminine. Like this is where I was and has been. This is like you're feeling like you're in transition, like you're feeling something coming, you're feeling yourself becoming, you're feeling this kind of future reality over here, but you're not quite there yet. It's like you're literally standing in the threshold of that open doorway. And you can't quite see the moving truck bringing in that new furniture. You don't know what that's going to look like. You don't know maybe who that's going to be. You don't know, um, maybe what that job's going to be, what that new home is going to be, location's going to be, what that travel opportunity is going to be, whatever it is that you're creating, whatever it is that you're manifesting, whatever it is that you hold, that vision that you hold, you can't quite see it yet. It's not there yet. It hasn't turned the corner, right? And so you're kind of looking down the street and you're like, huh, rather than focusing down the street and waiting and wondering, you're meant to just be in that stillness. Allow yourself to be in that stillness. That's where it might feel very uncomfortable. That's where I was experiencing. That's what I was experiencing for myself. That void like energy, that vulnerability was so uncomfortable for me because it was forcing me to be in that stillness of the uncertainty, the stillness of the unknown. And it feels like I can sense something's coming and I want to be prepared for it, for better or for worse, but I can't. And that's very scary. It's very vulnerable. And I have to allow myself to use all my tools and all my resources to be present, to be connected, to remember my soul truth that is, you can't prepare. You can't prepare. I mean, you can to a certain degree, but but being present is where you're creating. I was essentially what they're reminding me of as I'm channeling this in real time and processing this in real time. What I'm reminded of is that I was actually forgetting my own power. And that's what it was. I was forgetting my own power to create because I was getting kind of like ahead of myself. I was fearing the past and wondering what's happening in the future and kind of navigating both realities, and I was forgetting to just be present. I was disconnected. And that's where I was feeling vulnerable because I was forgetting my own empowerment. And what they're saying now is that's where you create and that's where you assess. Assess is this energy of consider. Take this time in this stillness to consider what it is that you want. Consider what is the vision that you're holding. Does it still align to your truth? Does it still align to what your soul wants? Does it still align to the version of you that you've become and the version of you that you're becoming? Assess. Um, if you're thinking about a new job, what is the job? What is it that you actually want? Rather than looking at the old job and trying to compare, look at it from the soul's perspective, from your present moment. What aligns with you now versus what aligned with you then? In the old version of yourself, you might have wanted a job that made X amount of money and that maybe you were a manager of other people, or maybe you had your own parking spot, or maybe you were on the top floor and you were a bigwig, or you had this amount of prestige and respect, or whatever it was in that old version of you. Well, assess that. Consider that. Does that vision still hold true for yourself? Does that desire, that dream still hold true for yourself in this version you've become and who you want to become, in this version that you are still unfolding into? Does that still matter? Do you still want the parking spot? Do you still want the success? Do you still want the fame? Do you still want X amount of money? All those things are valid if you want them, but make sure that you're wanting them from where you are now in the present moment versus wanting them from who you were then. That's what this energy is. You can anticipate something that's coming, but you're still in the midst of creating it. And that's where this eclipse energy for you is all about holding space for all versions, holding space for all possibilities and impossibilities, holding space for all of it, and really connecting with yourself so you get to decide, you get to determine what is old energy and what is energy that you really want to align with and anchor into now. There's actually interesting mirroring that's going on with the divine masculine and the divine feminine here. It feels like you're kind of doing the same thing, but from different perspectives, different angles. I can't quite articulate the mirror, but it really feels like you're doing the same thing, but from different energies. Really interesting. I'm going to use the Queen of the Moon now to see how is the masculine connecting with the feminine. Again, this could be your inner masculine or your counterpart connection. Take it for both. Take it for either. How is the masculine connecting with the feminine at this time? How is the masculine connecting with the feminine? How is the masculine connecting with the feminine? We have the card Fear. I feel this showed up in the reverse. It flipped out on my desk in reverse, and I feel like it's reversed. I feel like it's dissolving. It might not be completely eradicated, but I do feel like this fear is resolving. Where there might have been intimidation, fear, feelings of lack, feelings of maybe like lack of worth, lack of capacity, lack of ability to be there, to provide, to protect. Divine masculine energy is very much a protector. This is the healer warrior template that we've talked about in past channelings. I talk about it in my book. The masculine and the feminine are the healer and the warrior. The feminine is a healer energy. The masculine is the warrior energy. Now, because you have both within you, you're both a masculine and a feminine. You might be core feminine or core masculine, but you have both energies within you. You are both the healer and the warrior within you. At times, the warrior energy might come out with you. At times, the healer energy might come out with you. So you're not ever one thing or another. You're all things, right? But you might consider yourself more feminine or consider yourself more masculine energy, and thus you might consider yourself more healer or more warrior. So the template of the healer is connected to the feminine energy. The template of the warrior is connected to the masculine energy. And so I feel like this masculine might have been maybe intimidated or feeling that lack of warrior energy within them because they were not connecting to their inner masculine. They were not connecting to that warrior energy. Warrior energy is not about control. It's not about walking over. It's not about I forget I'm not connecting with the word that they're trying to bring me. It's but they are a warrior in and of themselves, in their strength, in their stability, in their consistency, in their sense of security. The more a masculine is in his warrior template, in his divine, sacred masculine energy, the more he's able to hold space for the feminine, and thus the feminine is able to expand. Years ago, I took a trip up to New York to visit one of my soul sisters, and we went to visit some waterfalls. And we remarked that the waterfalls were perfect replication of the masculine and feminine energy in nature, and how the embankment of the rocks over which the water flowed was the masculine energy, the container. The feminine is the water, and if the feminine is not able to be held safely, then she floods everywhere. She's kind of like out of control, right? She doesn't feel supported, she doesn't feel safe, she doesn't feel secure, and she can't expand to her true potential without that container. And so the masculine energy, being able to hold her, it uplifts her. She feels supported. Give me a second. Okay. This is my favorite card in tarot ever, ever, ever. I've mentioned this in my book. If you haven't gotten my book yet, make sure you check it out. I've gotten a lot of feedback on how it's helping you guys and really connect with your counterpart, connect with yourself, and really understand layers of this journey that you might not have known before. But I mentioned it in my book that this is the absolute epitome of sacred partners, divine masculine and divine feminine, and how you hold each other and how you support each other, and how it is a beautiful harmony of the energies, a union of the energies where it's not one over each other. Even though the masculine is lifting the feminine, she is then amplifying the energy and bringing that back to the masculine to light him up and lift him up. And that is the flow of energy between you two. And so the feminine, in order to be her full expanded self, has to be held by the masculine, feel safe, feel supported, feel protected by the masculine. And he uplifts her, supports her so that she can then amplify the energy and do the same for him. But it starts with the masculine in this sense to create that container for the feminine. And part of your own inner union is you have been doing this yourself, within yourself. And so that's his energy here, where I feel like the masculine is beginning to connect to their own sacredness, to connect to their own inner masculine, not just their inner masculine, but the sacred masculine, the divine masculine. But they might be dissolving old fears that are from old programs of what masculinity was. They might have been in a more toxic masculine energy, and that comes from society. There is a toxic masculinity that comes from the patriarchy, that comes from society. So they might be dissolving some of that old paradigm. That's where that fear lived. That's where that fear was bred. That's where that fear was fed. And so dissolving some of that to recognize what true masculinity is, what true sacred masculine energy is, so that they can approach the feminine from that place of stability, from that place of conscious connection. So I feel like fear being resolved here. And look at all the birds there. That is liberation. You have the cage, but no longer in the cage. Liberation is love, and love is the antithesis of fear. Fear is an illusion. Fear doesn't actually exist. We just make it into something other than what it is. We create it, but when we dissolve fear, all that's left is love, and that's what liberation is. That's what freedom is. Beautiful. All right, and I'm going to use the Queen of the Sun oracle to see how is the feminine connecting to the masculine. How is the masculine, or the feminine connecting to the masculine? How is the feminine connecting to the masculine? Okay, I like this card because you have order. And what is order? It is, I just heard this about chaos theory, how chaos theory is, there's beauty in the chaos because there is actually order within the chaos. You might not be able to see it, but it's in the patterns, it's in the structure. That even though it might look like complete chaos on the outside, there is a sense of order and discipline. And that's masculine energy. Masculine energy is structure, it's discipline. That's not to say it's restrictive. There is beauty in discipline. There's beauty in a sense of structure. Again, I've experienced this as a feminine. If I'm too much in my intuition, if I don't have a sense of structure to my day, then I feel very disconnected. I feel very lost. I need to be able to be flexible and move in my intuition. But if I'm too structured, then I feel too restricted. So there needs to be a sense of flexibility. But if I'm too much in my I don't know what I'm doing today, or if I'm too much in my spontaneity, then there's a sense of imbalance between me. I need that sense of balance, especially as a Libra. I need that sense of balance within myself, that structured order, or that structured flexibility, or that ordered chaos. That's the balance. That's the bridge. And so I feel like the feminine, she sees the masculine as the sacred container. That's not a right word. The sacred vessel, able to hold her. Able to hold her. Piggybacking off of what we were channeling for the masculine energy here. Let me see if there's, let me tune into any other, no, let me get another card. And see if there's any other connecting energy for the feminine. How is the feminine connecting to the masculine? Joy. Yeah, I thought there was something else. Joy. This is connecting within the higher heart, connecting to the love, connecting to the connection, connecting to the higher self, regardless of what the physical looks like. We talk about that all the time. Not looking outside of yourself for evidence of, oh, he's doing this or she's doing that, or this is what my connection is because this is what it looks like. Trusting yourself, tuning into yourself, and finding that joy, being in that empty living room, being in that stillness, being in the uncertainty, and finding joy regardless. Being in the uncertainty and finding joy regardless, because that is where you create. That is where you empower yourself. That is where you manifest. That is where you create. And that is where love is. And look at how peaceful she is. Look how aligned she is. Look at how expanded she is, how she's opening her heart. She has her whole chest just open, her arms wide open, and all that sun energy coming through. That is where she's connected. She's connecting to the masculine, and she's connecting to the love that has always and will always reside within the connection, because the connection resides in the heart space, on the bridge of the heart. All right, that is going to be it. I hope that it resonated with you. We'll come back with a regular Sacred Union energy update coming up soon. Let me know in the comments how this resonated, and also let me know how this eclipse energy is treating you, how you're dealing with it, anything that you're seeing within your own self or your own connections. I love to hear from you guys. It really helps to validate or helps me understand where our community is as well. I am sending you so much love, so much light, and we'll see you soon.